The government shut him down 3 times. Supreme Court of California told him he'd be arrested if he sold one more sandwich, and he opened 100 more restaurants anyway. Ike Shehadeh went from sleeping in friends' cars, living in a failed business after it closed, bouncing around Hawaii homeless, to building Ike's love and sandwiches into a 9-estate, 135 restaurant empire. But here's what got me. He did it by only doing things he'd do for free anyway. Halfway through the cigar, he tells me about the Philly Titans box. Crack dealers taught him, fill it with hundreds and that's 100 grand. He saved into that box for years. When the Supreme Court shut him down and he had 0 restaurants, he pulled it out and it was exactly full. That box funded everything that came after. We went deep into that interview. 3 government shutdowns, how he turned down a 9-figure valuation, and why his face is on every single shirt he wears. And the list he made at 27 that changed his entire life. This is the kind of conversation you only get over 90 minutes and smoke. In the next 2 hours, you're gonna learn why your well-being is your #1 contributor to humanity. Why you should never find a need and fulfill it, and the exact list that took a homeless kid to 135 locations. This is Breaking Cigars with Ike Shehadeh.
Ike, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome, man. What's up?
I got 3 different options for you today when it comes to cigars. The first one is a Villa Vieja Old Nicaraguan Puro. This one is usually my favorite to smoke when I'm in Latvia. So I brought it all the way here to Dubai from Latvia. The second one, here we have a Padilla light cigar. I believe this is a Churchill, and you're going to notice down here it says Barcelona, and what it means is it is of Spanish tradition. It is, I also believe, an Old Nicaraguan Puro. I'd have to double check though, but this cigar is lighter than the one to the right here that is like a full body to medium body cigar. And finally we have some Cohibas, which I proudly stole from an event that we went to yesterday. And these are small cigarellos that are very, very nice. Cohiba ones, all Cuban Puro, unless they are counterfeit, which I doubt. I've tried them myself and they were quite nice. So I don't think they're a counterfeit Cuban, but who knows? Honestly, who knows with the fake cigars? In your case, like, do you smoke a lot of cigars?
I'm around a lot of cigars, but I don't really smoke them.
You don't really smoke them. In that case, would you like to try one of these 3?
Well, you know me. I'm a freaking communist, so I should take the Cuban one.
Right. I'm a communist as well. But I'm going to save the Cuban ones for you then. I'm going to leave them here. And the nice thing about these ones is that with these little cigarellos, they already come pre-cut, so you don't even have to cut them.
All right.
And I think I'll try this one, the Padilla Barcelona one, for the first time. Yeah, and I was correct. It is an Old Nicaraguan Puro. It does say here Nicaragua, which can also be misleading because even though it says a certain country, it can be a combination of like 3 different countries because there are 3 portions to a cigar. The first one is the filler of a cigar, which is kind of the most centerpiece. And then there's the binder, and finally the wrapper. And all 3 can come from 3 different parts of the world. The wrapper is very frequently made in Connecticut, of all places. It has a very particular climate around rainfall, and the wrapper ends up getting exported to all of these different Caribbean countries to wrap the final stage of the leaf. And then the filler and binder can be either from Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, Cuba, wherever. Doesn't really matter. But Connecticut wrapper is super, super common. But this, I believe, is a Puro. And I will choose, I think, a V-cut for today. Because depending on the cut that we choose, it's going to be a different taste. I'm going to try this one today. In your case, how old were you when you had your first cigar?
Oh, the time I had my first cigar was probably at an age I'm not supposed to have one. They were just hanging around. My father was in the supermarket business, and he sold cigars in the sense of like a Swisher Sweet, a Philly, chocolate Philly was what they called it back then, stuff like that.
So it
And
was like a cigarello?
it's yeah, and as a kid, having those bubblegum cigarettes, just like having the little puff, puff, puff. That's probably why I don't smoke, is because I had one when I was a kid, and I was like, "What is this?"
Man, it's funny you say
Scared
that.
straight, you know.
It's funny you say that because that brings me back to having my first cigarette with my dad, and very much in the same theme of had an age when I shouldn't have had it. And it was in a Moldovan village when I was like 4 years old. My dad must have been drunk out of his mind. It was after like a family party in a village in the middle of nowhere. My dad was outside smoking. I come outside and I look at my dad and I say, "Hey, Dad." He's like, "Hey, son." I'm like, "Dad, can I try?" He's like, "Yeah, go for it." Just hands me the cigarette. I take this massive puff and I instantly just start coughing. And that's all to say that that prevented me from smoking, I think, for like 20 years. Just that one little experience. Not 20. I think I was 20 when I started doing shisha. So maybe like 16 years. Kept me away from cigarettes.
I used to have little shisha parties almost every weekend when I was 18.
Mhm.
First moved out, had it set up. Plus, the ladies were like, "Oh, I'll come over and have some shisha."
Nice. So you were a shisha guy.
Yeah. I definitely had my own argila, put it out, invited people over. Whether I had one puff or I don't know 10 puffs, I was more the centerpiece of the party, and I was entertaining.
Love it. And with the parties, were you usually the one hosting?
Almost always at my place.
Love it.
You host the party, you get to call the rules.
You get to enjoy the fruits of the labor as well.
Yeah.
And that brings me back with the shisha that I had for the first time. It was actually at a Russian party. We made the Russian party at my university dorm at the time, and it was a Russian group of maybe 20 different. And when I say Russian, I mean like all the post-Soviet countries. Actually, funny enough, most of them I think were from Ukraine because my university at the time took a lot of Ukrainian students into the computer science programs, and it was just nonstop shisha that we had at my place, at mine and my buddy's place. And that was the first time I really started to smoke. And then the nice thing about shisha is that you can add all these different flavorings. You can have an apple, you can have inside of orange, a grapefruit. You can mix the bowl to be either with milk or with some sort of alcohol, whether it be whiskey or vodka. And then obviously the tobacco can also be flavored. It's a science of its own. So I really enjoyed shisha as well. And in Latvia, they have really good shisha, and even these machines that run off a battery. I don't know how healthy it is, but you don't even need the charcoal. You just have the cup, as they call it, and then the battery right over it, and heats it up without any use of coal. And walk me through like how it came to be that you ended up having cigars here in Dubai. Were you born and raised in Dubai, or what's your story?
You mean with you right here, right now?
Yeah.
Well, I love to feed people. I love to eat. I love to travel. I love to teach. I love to learn. So here I am doing all of those, and hopefully one day I'll be able to find a location real soon. Sell some sandwiches too for Ike's.
And with your, it's a restaurant chain, correct?
Yeah, it's called Ike's 11 Sandwiches. It just opened the last few weeks. In fact, I flew to Dubai from a grand opening I had in Denver. Flew from Denver, went to LA for a day, hung out, and then LA straight here. But a week before that, I opened one up in Hawaii.
Wow. So across how many states now?
Hawaii was the ninth state. We've already been in Denver for about 5 years now. That's the fifth location in Denver.
That's amazing. So how many locations total across the
Like
United States?
135, 136, over 130
Wow,
in the U.S., 9 states. Hopefully international soon.
that's incredible. And how did you get into the food industry in the first place? Was it something that your family did, or what got you to love sandwiches so much?
I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, and working for other people. I was working 7 days a week. I really enjoy work.
Mhm.
I really enjoy being busy. Noticed that on the days I didn't work, I would just sleep in, wake up, not do much, and really wasn't productive at all.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, all I need is the evenings to do things in. I don't need to be lazy during the day. So I ended up getting a second job and a third job. And I did that for 3 years. Right before that, a couple years before that, I had my own business and ended up going out of business. It was a supermarket in San Francisco. Had to end up selling my house, selling my car to help the business survive. It didn't work out. Business goes under. I end up living on, well, first of all, living in the business, literally living in the business after it closed for a few months till I got evicted. Then bounced around, whether it was in friends' cars, vans, couches. Ended up in Hawaii randomly because I figured if you're going to be homeless, might as well be
Be
homeless in
homeless in
Hawaii
Hawaii.
rather than, say, San Francisco. And after that, about 9 months of that, I thought, well, I need to get back. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like this forever. Especially Hawaii
Mhm.
is a wonderful place. Also a wonderful place that one can get stuck in for long term. And so I moved back to California and thought, well, what am I going to do with my life? What's a high priority for me? And I made a list of what I really wanted in my next job, what I really wanted in my next life, which is post business life, post living on the like randomly places life. And I made a list of what was important to me. And on that list was going on dates, working out, hanging out with animals, friends, eating, cooking, feeding people. And I was like, okay, girls, number one priority. I was 24 at the time.
Mhm.
So I was like, where should I work? And I had a whole bunch of ideas. And so I started applying at these women's clothing shops. And then when I was at the mall looking for a job, I noticed Victoria's Secret was up there. I can't believe I didn't think about it. So I went in there, begged for a job. Let me work there for minimum wage. It was the holidays. It's November. It was like around this time of year. And I thought, hey, hire me. I'll quit in January. I'll work for minimum wage. That turned into 3 jobs, multiple women-based businesses. I became a great salesperson, especially selling to women. And I was doing that for a while, 3 years. Through that process, I noticed that there were parts of the job I loved and parts of the job I didn't love, or in fact hated. The parts of the job I hated were the areas where I would get criticized, often from management, and that I did poorly.
Mhm.
The parts that I enjoyed, I became a genius in that area. I learned about bra sizes. I learned about different types of bras. I learned about fashion. I learned about what goes with this outfit, what goes with that dress, what to work out in.
Mhm.
And I ended up being a great salesperson there. But I got really sick of working for other people, mainly for the low upside and the lack of, I don't know, gratitude. I was like, I should be getting more. Like anybody that's out there right now that works for other people, they're all underpaid, right? According to them. I was one of those people. I need more, I need more, I need more. But I wasn't the business owner, so I thought I need to move away from working for other people.
Mhm.
And so I made another list. What are the things I would do and never quit? Because I didn't want to go and start another business and then quit.
So this is, how old were you at this time? Was it 27?
27.
So for 3 years, you kind of worked 1, 2, 3 different jobs at the same time. That must have been exhausting.
It wasn't. It wasn't because I'd say because I didn't learn that you're not supposed to 40 hours a week. Like, I'm not saying that people need to work more than 40 hours a week, but I can tell you right now that anybody that is successful isn't only working 40 hours a week, especially in the beginning. Probably even now, as it goes through, is Elon working 40 hours a week? Is Jeff Bezos working 40 hours a week? Is right? And so I had my business previously, and I was working way more than 40 hours a week. So to me, I would stack. I would work like 70 hours a week. I would stack jobs where I'd work at 1 in the morning, one during the daytime, and then one during the evening. When I was working at my buddy's restaurant as a bartender, I would go work my regular shift at Victoria's Secret and then go work there till 1 o'clock in the morning when they closed and stack it up 70 hours a week. It was easy. For me, it was as long as I could have time to go on dates at night or hang out with my friends at night and get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That leaves a whole, if you say you're going to go out for 4 hours and 7 or 8 hours of sleep, that's 13, that's 11 or 12 hours. You have a whole 12 hours that you can work. And so that was my philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I wanted to move into, well, what would I do instead? I want to make sure it wouldn't be something that I would quit. Something that I would do, and when there wasn't money coming in, that I wouldn't just stop doing it. Because I noticed that that's how the worst parts of the other jobs that I had, that I wouldn't have done them for free, and I didn't like them because the money wasn't the money. It's whenever anybody's out there and they're upset with the job over the money, it's not the money part. It's the fact that they're doing something that they don't want to do, and so they're always going to be underpaid in that area. I noticed that as a 26-year-old kid, and so I made this list. What is it that I would do and that I was already doing? I wouldn't want to say, oh, I like to travel when I wasn't traveling, because I wasn't traveling. But I did like to eat. I did like to cook. I did like to hang out with my animals. I did like to go on dates. I did like to work out. And I just made this list, and it was 37 items on the list. Anyway, this is a long way of me saying that I really observed my life and paid attention and saw what is it that I was already doing and that I never asked to get paid for. In fact, not even asked, didn't expect to get paid for it. If you were back at my place back then, my friends, I would look through the cabinets. If I was at your house, look through the cabinets, look through the fridge, and make us a meal. I didn't go, hey, afterwards, hey, that'll be $20. I just did that.
But if you do something for 18 hours a day that you love, don't you eventually get tired of it for weeks and weeks and weeks?
I would argue that if you ever got tired doing anything more than, say, like one day, maybe two max, that you don't actually love it. Because, like, I like hanging out with my animals. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm hanging out with my animals so much. I really wish I wasn't hanging with my animals anymore. No. Or if somebody's got a family out there. Oh, I don't want, oh my gosh, I see my kids all the time. Why is this happening? Oh my gosh, I'm hanging out with beautiful women all the time. Like, who complains about things that they actually love? Nobody does. More than, again, a day, maybe two. I don't want to see my cat for a day because he pissed me off or whatever, right? So, because I get asked that all the time. Well, if I turn this in my passion, my hobby into a job, then I won't like it anymore. I will argue that you don't like it then. You don't love it. I will never get tired of having food outside of the moments that I'm stuffed. Why? Because I love to eat. I'm passionate about food. You're not going to find me 3 days going, oh my gosh, I wish I never had to eat again. Oh my, that's not ever going to happen because I enjoy that. Now, sure, maybe some people don't want to do that, but that's not for them.
And so you're 27 and you made your list again. What was on that list?
So yeah, the first thing on that list this time is, so the last time I made the list, it was women. This time on the list was working out, was the first thing. I
Mm.
was really into that at that time in my life.
Mhm.
I felt like I needed the energy to do all the jobs that I had.
Mhm.
Second thing on that list was cooking. I hang out with my animals, still up there on that list. Eating was on the list. And what was new on this list that hadn't been there before was I really enjoyed not just cooking, but cooking for people. Yes, I would absolutely cook for myself, but what I enjoyed more was there's 5 of us over, and I go in the fridge, I go in the cabinets, I go in the pantry, and I make a meal, and not just make a meal for me, but make a meal and share, and then get the feedback from people and watching them enjoy it, especially when we're hungry. And so I ended up writing like 37 things. It was watching movies. I'd going on dates, but it was more like number 7 rather than number 1.
What was that shift in your mindset that happened over 3 to 4 years that caused those priorities to shift?
Well, probably the women thing was because I was strictly working with women at Victoria's Secret. I had over 300 female coworkers. I remember, and I can't believe I said this, and I can't believe I admit this. When I was at Victoria's Secret, after like year 2.5, I was like, "Oh my bleeping gosh! If I see one more bra, I'm gonna get sick." And now I look back, I was like, "Dude, what? You got sick and tired of looking at bras?" But in reality, it was what the bras represented. It was, I don't want to badmouth previous customers or anything, but it's just a certain previous coworkers. It's just
Mhm.
a certain thing to have to deal with when basically the only guy, the only masculine presence, and have to deal with literally 300 flowy wish, the whoosh of the feminine energy, and then kind of there's obviously cattiness there and things like that. So actually, women got lowered on my list. Plus, I got pretty saturated because at that time, because I wanted to figure out a way to make money with what my values were high on,
Mhm.
and so I actually was doing a lot of back then in 2000. So I'll date myself. So it was 2004, 2005, 2006. I was writing a book on how to meet women online and get them to pay for the first date. Figured out if I create this book, instead of all these dating things that are out there back then in the early 2000s, that I would create something more useful. And the internet dating was just becoming a thing. In fact, back then it was, if you were going to meet up with somebody, they'd be like, "Please don't go, you're going to get murdered." So I figured, well, it's not really useful to teach people how to meet women online because and all the dating coaches were doing that. So I wanted to show how, and plus I was broke. So how can I get free dates or get paid to go on dates? Oh, I know. I'll come up with a system, come up with a way that I could get women to pay for the first date. And then also because I worked at Victoria's Secret, I had a lot of practice. Talked to a couple hundred girls a day, whether they worked with me or whether they were customers. So I could actually get wide range of resources and research on what worked, what didn't, and then I would track everything. This is what I did. This is what I said, because I was putting together this book. So also going on hundreds of dates also had it just get lower on my list. It was still on my list. It just wasn't my priority. After going on a couple hundred dates, it's like I don't need to make that a priority anymore. But the other things that shifted was I noticed that I really enjoyed. We're talking about the shisha and hosting. Well, that was when I was 18, and now that I had my own place and getting back on my feet and having all these jobs and also working with a lot of women, I was throwing every Saturday. I made sure I'd not work Saturday evenings past 8. I'd work my job, usually 12 to 8 that day, and then go back home 8:15 and start preparing and having every Saturday I had a gathering at my place, either with coworkers, and I started hosting parties.
Why? Was that something that really brought you pleasure, or was it with a goal in mind?
It was because I noticed I really enjoyed the cooking and creating a, an atmosphere
Mhm.
for folks. I really did enjoy. Obviously, I enjoyed. Hey, let me invite some women over, but also when my guy friends would come over, I'm like, hey, let me hook you up too. It was sharing of resources. It was, hey, I have this, and often it was, I have this new recipe and I want to try it. and I want to make it for a bunch of people. Even now, when I cook, it's very difficult for me to cook for just me. I'll go and cook, and it'll end up being 2 or 3 people's worth of food because I can't even pare down that for myself. So it was a combination of all those things, but I really did enjoy the hosting of the parties. In fact, I still do that now in a different level, in a different way, whether it's at my restaurants. But I've been hosting parties essentially since I was 18. And by parties, I mean 10 or 12 people. But also I've thrown them for 100 people. And it's really something that I enjoyed. And all that was an indicator of, oh, I should probably get into the hospitality business for real instead of dabbling in it as a not-for-profit organization, breaking even at home or even paying for it because I didn't charge my guests to come to my house.
And going back to when you were 27, you remade that list. What happened after you made that list? Did you have a paradigm shift in what you wanted to do? And was that when you started your sandwich business?
After it was evident to me that I should open up a restaurant, the next thought was, oh, well, I have no clue how to open up a restaurant.
But hold on, what kind of made you realize that you want a restaurant? Number one for you at the time was lifting and getting your body in shape. Why not become a personal trainer?
So when I made the list this time, for each of the items on my list, I was like, I need to write out 3 ways that I can generate income from it, even just a penny. Like I will work out already for free. In fact, I was paying a gym membership, so I worked out for negative money.
Right.
So how can I generate income? And so for each of the items, I wrote out 3 ways. So I had 37 things on this list and wrote out 3 ways to make money from each. So I had 111 ways to make money over these 37 items with some overlap as I was looking. So as I observed the list and went through the list, okay, I could still become a dating coach. In fact, I opened up a business called Hot Date, the number 4 hire, so hotdateforhire.com.
Love it.
If you needed a company date, you needed a prom date, you needed to make your boyfriend jealous, $50 in dinner, and you got me for 2 hours. And that was actually not that bad of a business. In fact, in a different time, like if it was 15 years later, it probably would have took off because meeting people off the internet or buying things off the internet wasn't as mainstream, especially the dating aspect. And so there was a lot of things on my list that I attempted to do. But when I looked at it, I noticed that there was a lot of, feed people, a lot of create a venue where people can come together. I really enjoyed the people coming together over a meal. I mean, we do that all the time, coming together over drinks, coming together over coffee, coming together over cigars. And looking at the 111 things, it was almost evident from there, like, oh, I should open up a restaurant just from looking at all that. And then the next thought was, well, I don't know how to open up a restaurant.
It's terrifying, especially given how many restaurants open up and close.
Yeah, so the internet said back then is 80% failure rate in 5 years, 50% in like the first 2 years. But for me, it's like, well, I was going to do it for free anyway, break even anyway. So that didn't really frighten me, especially when I looked at, I was already doing these things. I wasn't going to introduce anything new into what I was doing in my life. The only difference was I was going to be paying rent on a place. And then instead of only doing it for my friends and their friends, it would be open to the public.
But cooking for friends and like running a restaurant on the front side and then the backside logistics of it, like, isn't that completely different?
Absolutely. And that's why, but I didn't know that because I didn't know about anything about a restaurant. So essentially what happened is, well, I narrowed down on I want to open up a restaurant. So I go, okay, well, now I need to learn how to open up a restaurant. So I made another list. What I think I needed to open up a restaurant. Menu, wholesaler, food cost, name of the place, the money to open the place, a whole bunch of things. It was 17, 18, 19 things. And then we have this thing called the internet, and even now we have this thing called AI. I was just like, okay, I need to open up a restaurant, and I just started wholesalers near me, or wholesalers San Francisco, because near me geotagging wasn't a thing back then. I just searched all that, and I started making calls. Hey, how much is turkey? And then I started going into the places, and it took a while from when I had the idea to when I opened it. Not necessarily because it would take a while, but because I didn't know anything, and I wanted to gather the information.
Mhm.
In fact, it probably took a little too long. It took me about a year to get open. I probably, in retrospect, a lot of that was busy, busy work that I could have done faster. But when I went through and looked at all that, then I also noticed, oh shoot, if I want to open up a restaurant, that's going to be like $500,000 or $600,000. So I went from, because most of my recipes were for like sitting at a dinner table. Then I thought, well, I'll just transform my recipes into more like of a cafe experience. Because a cafe, my father once upon a time had a coffee shop, and he ran it with two people. And I was like, okay. And sometimes he ran it with one if it's not busy. So I figured it's going to turn into a cafe. I'll be the chef, I'll be the server, and I'll be the cashier
Mhm.
all at once. And so I pivoted from opening an actual quote restaurant to a cafe. Not that a cafe is not a restaurant. No offense to any cafe owners. I don't think it's not a restaurant. Just back then, to me, what a restaurant was sitting down, and what a cafe was not that. And so I opened up what became Ike's Place, which was a cafe in San Francisco, which is not what I'm doing right now. I ended up evolving to become what I am. So I basically just went through, did the research on the computer, and once I filled out all the things that I thought I had, all 18, 19 things, I said to myself, well, I guess I need to open up the restaurant now. There's no reasons not to.
Was finding the investment of 500 to 600K in cash a challenge, or did you manage to save up to that point?
Well, so I didn't, the new cafe, the budget wasn't 500 or 600,000.
Got it. It was way lower.
It was 45K,
But it
which
was
is
one
much
way to
more,
get started.
yeah, which is much more manageable. Thinking, okay, I need
Got
half
it.
$1,000,000. No, I just need half
Got it.
100,000 now. Yeah.
And so how did it start? Was it just you operating the place, or did you end up hiring a few people to help you? What was kind of the startup of it? What were the logistics and the works of that?
Well, I started by myself. In fact, the first day I opened, I didn't sell anything. I didn't give away a bottle. I didn't sell a water. I didn't sell a soda. I didn't sell a sandwich. My good friend Liz, she came to visit me on the first day, which was Halloween 2007. So 18 years ago.
Mhm.
And she came to visit me on the first day to celebrate and help. And then we were going to go out, and after we closed, and go do Halloween in San Francisco. But the thing is, nobody came in. So Liz came by to like hang out, and nobody came in.
Mhm.
So I remember, I recall about 6 p.m. I was like, all right, nobody's been in at all, sold nothing. Let's just close up and enjoy Halloween, and let me get over me being upset and angry and sad that nothing happened today. So I had these candy. We had these caramel apple pops and some other candies to give away to kids. This is Halloween, so we stood out. We'll do trick or treat for. It was still only like 6 or 7. We weren't gonna go out till 9, so let's pass out some candy. And we went out to go pass out some candy to trick or treaters as they were walking by, and kids wouldn't even take candy from us. Parents would bring. It was one of the weirdest things that ever happened to me in my life. Is it's Halloween. I'm dressed up in a costume. Liz, who's a very beautiful girl, dressed up in a costume, and we have candy, and literal trick or treaters wouldn't take from us on actual Halloween. And then that really like hit me hard. I was like, I didn't sell anything, and kids aren't taking any fucking candy from me on Halloween. I'm like,
That's wild.
it was probably the worst sales performance in the history of life. Not selling anything, and then not being able to even give kids candy on Halloween. Just put the candy away. We go out, but the whole time I'm like, I can't even shake the level of just sheer failure that happened on that day. Plus, there was a bunch of drama with all the stuff. It wasn't a clean opening as far as there's always stuff that happened behind the scenes.
Talk about a tough day, man. Shit.
Yeah. And in fact, it bothered me so much. I was so upset that I actually didn't reopen for a week. I didn't reopen until November 7th, so a week after.
Mm-hmm.
And my plan was, all right, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm not going to not sell anything today. So I stood outside of the door. The first day I stood inside, like, oh, people are going to come in. No, that didn't happen. So I stood outside, and everybody that walked by, I said hi. Hey, good morning. Hey, good afternoon. Hey, everybody that walked by. And anybody that said hi back, I'd say, hey, I want to buy you lunch. I want to make a sandwich. And people in San Francisco, they're like, what do you mean? Hey, I opened up a restaurant. I just opened this cafe, and I'd love to feed you. I haven't made anything yet. So I'd rather, if I'm not going to sell anything, I just want to make you something. And I actually got 9 people to come in on the second day.
Wow.
None of them actually let me buy them lunch or dinner, but I wouldn't accept the money. So they were putting $10 or $20 in the tip jar, and which ironically, so back then the sandwiches were $7. Most of the items were $7. So I actually made more money trying to give away food than I would have if I charged them, because I was getting $20 from some people, $10, and at max it would have been like $9 with tax. And then I did that again the next day. Ironically, weirdly, oddly, crazily, it took me 3 days to sell 10 sandwiches. It took me 3 days to do that, to do double digits in sandwiches. But I stood outside the door and said hi to people. Let me buy you lunch. Hi to people. Come on in. Hey, getting to know everybody that came by. And I stood outside the door. And then once I started getting too busy to stand outside the door, I hired somebody else to stand outside and go and basically do the high job until we no longer needed to do that. That was about 8 months. But that was the plan, to go from not selling anything to making sure that people knew that we existed.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And so it was just yourself and one other person for the first
It was just
8
me.
months.
And then once we started getting too busy, I called my mom. She was my business partner in the beginning, and she would run the register. I was like, hey, I just need you to take the orders, and I'll make the orders. Then my buddy, a good friend, Alex, old roommate, then he would started coming in on his lunch break to come eat. He loved the food. He just started hanging out and running the register for me on his lunch break. He was in real estate, so he had his own schedule, but so he started coming in. So beginning it was me, and then my mom, and then my best friend, and then actually he was like, oh wait, this is a legit thing. I better get some actual employees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it sounds like your parents were very supportive of this initiative, so much so that they participated in the business.
Yeah, they were. Well, in the beginning, like anything, well, you want to open a restaurant? That doesn't make any sense. But once I did do it, they were supportive. Yeah.
Got it.
My mom especially.
And then what happened? So he started hiring more employees. What happened after that?
So about March, so about 6 months in, I heard of this thing called Yelp. First became aware of it. But I became aware of it because people started coming in and saying, hey, did you know that you're the #1 restaurant on Yelp? I was like, I don't even know what Yelp is. So I look into it, and there I am. There's my face on the front page of Yelp, San Francisco, which back then meant Yelp worldwide, because geotagging, as I mentioned before, isn't a thing, or geolocation wasn't a thing yet. So you go to Yelp.com anywhere in the world until you plug in your city. It was San Francisco because that's their headquarters. And guess whose face was on the cover? Mine. Across the world. And that changed not just the business, but my life. Imagine a website where your face would have been on everywhere in the whole world. You're in Latvia, you go to Yelp, it would have been my face. You're in Australia, my face. United States, my face. Everywhere. And because San Francisco is such a touristy town, I was essentially a rock star with the Aussies, the Italians, the French. All these people would come. The Chinese would come to San Francisco, need to go eat at my place because my face was there, and then be like, "Hey, you're the guy." It was weird being a rock star like internationally when the business was like just doing okay.
But was it you woke up one day and then you became a rock star, or you just noticed that there's all of a sudden a surplus of people for completely no reason until someone told you?
Yeah, so somebody told me that we were number one on Yelp, and from being number one on Yelp to actually being busy, like where it was over say like an hour wait type of place, type of busy, that was another 3 months. So basically 9 months in, we had a 2 hour wait, mainly because of Yelp, and then that put us on the map with other things. Then the local newspaper wanted to cover me. I remember a uh, baseball player Barry Zito. He had signed a huge contract. Baseball is like 7 years, 126 million. That one of the highest contracts in that time, and he signed with the San Francisco Giants. So it was big news for the local area. And so the front page of the Sunday paper said, San Francisco Giants signed Zito for 7 years, 126 million. And right next to that, it says, "Call ahead for Ike's sandwiches." On the masthead, on the newspaper, had a full page spread in there. And then it was just stack on stack on stack of recognition based on this media outlet, that media outlet. Yelp had, and then we end up getting on the Food Network or the Travel Channel, then the Food Network. Then all of a sudden, because we were on the Food Network, Travel Channel, and Yelp, Australians would come in and they're like, "Oh, can we get a picture with you?" And at first I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because now, as you see, my logo is my face, but back then it wasn't. In fact, my logo being my face was a byproduct of people kept asking, "Who's Ike? Who's Ike? Who's Ike?" And so I just put my face on the logo, so they wouldn't have to ask who Ike is. They're like, "Oh, that's
They
obviously
can see you right away
Ike."
who the boss
And
is.
that was part of the, I don't know, what's the proper word to, that was part of the impetus to, hey, this is a real thing. People are enjoying what I'm bringing to the restaurant. Yes, especially in San Francisco and the Bay Area, celebrity chefs get celebrated and people know who they are. But here, even the other celebrity chefs, which I'll leave them nameless, would come in and give backhanded compliments to me. "Oh, we came here to try my spot," and they would kind of demean the whole, "Oh, well, I'm just selling sandwiches." But even me, I think I also thought, "Hey, I'm just selling sandwiches. What's going on?" But once I owned that position, like, "Oh yeah, of course, we're doing this. We're doing this the greatest that can possibly be done." Elite is elite, whether you're selling sandwiches, selling bras, or you're making a souffle.
What made it so elite so early on? Was it the hospitality? Was it because one thing is to get the person to come in, right? Which you did very well at the start, all by yourself. But what got them to come back and what got them to leave such positive reviews without you even knowing?
Well, in the beginning, because I didn't know, it was genuinely, if you came in, I wanted to make sure you got the perfect sandwich for yourself, the
What is the
perfect
perfect
meal.
sandwich?
Well, each person's different. if I asked you what do you like on your sandwiches, you'd say maybe something different than what I would want. So walking through, my menu is pretty eclectic and large. So as you would come through, I'd ask, well, what do you normally get on your sandwiches? And well, I mean, what do you normally get on your sandwiches?
For me, like when I think of sandwiches, I think of Subway. For me, like this was our tradition middle school. Once a week, me and my boys would go to Subway, and it almost, well, it does matter what's on it. Turkey, I love turkey, lettuce, uh, olives, cucumbers, pickles. But the most important part of the ingredient was the sauce, and the sub sauce was the thing that I absolutely loved, and the rest was less important.
What was the sauce that you would get?
It was the house. I forget the full actual name, but it's called the sub sauce, and they would put that on, but it has a different name.
And what was that? What was the flavor of that? If you
It's
recall.
got like it's a greener sauce, and it's got almost like this acidic tone to it. Very zesty. I'm
Yeah.
lacking the vocabulary to even describe it.
So then you would say that, and I go, oh well, I have a sandwich that's similar to that. It's called the Stephen Jenkins. It's named after the lead singer from Third Eye Blind. We designed the sandwich together. By the way, he made they created their album. It was in San Francisco, so you know, and he was a big fan. So he came in and we designed a sandwich. It's turkey. It's got this green sauce. We have these grilled tomatoes on there. You can add all those other veggies that you want, and
So
we'll
there's a
toast it up
story
for
there.
you.
You attach a
And
story
and
to
I
it.
would tell you that about well, almost every single one of my sandwiches has a story. Almost every single one, not probably 90% plus. Especially in the beginning, all the ones in the beginning had a story to it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been on there. And so I would have said that, and then you'd be like, "Oh, cool, I'll get that one." And then now you would have been, "Oh my gosh, I got a story. I got the sandwich that is basically the sandwich that I want." And but then I would do that 300 times a day, even though I would take that time with you. It might take a little bit longer than, "Oh, you want a number one? Great. See ya. We'll call your name or we'll call your number." And then, but even though that would take time, then the next person I would do it with them. So then they didn't get mad that I took my time with you because then I took my time with them. And then over time and over time and over time, the service was there and the food backed it up. We already know we want to do business with people we like and we know and we trust. And it's always a bonus when the product also is upper echelon and elite. You mix those two together and it becomes, I guess, iconic. And that's why, so then I put my face on the logo and then I put love and sandwiches. I was called Ike's Place, Ike's Cafe. And then I became Ike's Love and Sandwiches because when I was do all these interviews with the media, they would ask similar questions like, how did you get so busy? How are you doing it? What makes you stand out? Why are you the number one restaurant on Yelp? We were 5 stars on Yelp for almost the entirety of our existence, my first location, because it's not there anymore. And at one point, Ike's was the most reviewed anything on Yelp in the history of Yelp. They sent me some cool stuff about that. Hey, by the way, you're the highest rated thing, period. The most reviews on Yelp. And I would get interviewed a lot, and I just said, we just love it more. Like, that we love the game more. We hustle more. It's like just in me. When you want to do it, when I want to do it, there's not going to be any thing that's going to stop. You came in and say, I told you about that sandwich. You go, oh, actually, this isn't like the sandwich I told you. I don't like it. Instead of going, too bad or whatever, I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, here, you keep that. You give it to a friend. Let me get you something perfect. Or when we did make mistakes, it's the same thing. Let me fix it for you. My number one priority, because I made the list of what I would do and for free, basically what I would do and not expect to get money. And so I didn't care about making the money. I cared about making you happy. Not even for any other reason other than I don't want you to leave and go, oh, I went there and it sucked. I went there and Ike was a jerk to me. So that was the number one priority, was the love aspect, which was why love comes first in the name, love and sandwiches. I want to make sure you love it and you feel loved. And then after that, we give you the sandwich, and then after that, we'll hopefully turn into a profit.
It started with the superior service.
And then also, I did once I found out what Yelp was, and say you would come in and be like, "Oh my gosh, that Stephen Jenkins sandwich, that was perfect. I'm glad you told me about that." I would ask for the review. Hey, I would really love it. You would help me if you would leave me a review. And we would get reviews, and I would go and read the reviews almost daily and be like, oh, Anatoly, yeah, I remember. I gave him a Stephen Jenkins sandwich. I'm glad he left me a review. So then you would come in again, and you'd bring a friend maybe, and I'd say, hey, Anatoly, I'm going to buy you your sandwich. You left me a review, and you brought a friend. That's exactly what I need. Thank you. And then now your friend would go, oh, what about me? I'm like, hey, you leave me a review, you bring a friend, maybe I'll give you a free sandwich next time. And it turned into this whole, hey, like let's support each other. I want to care for you, and I want you to get you the right food. But I also, it would be great if you would leave me a review because that helps me out too.
Makes me think about, we just went to a restaurant here in Dubai, and at the end, the waiter approached us and he said, "Hey, like, I'm really sorry, but can you do me a small favor?" And it actually seemed genuine. He's like, "Could you kindly leave a review?" And he had the QR code in front of him. And I basically never leave reviews, ever. Like, of course, I take advantage of them, and maybe the world would be a better place if we reviewed everything that we've attended. But I can't think of the last time I've ever left a review. But because he asked, because he was there, because he was present with that QR code, and sort of put us on the spot of like, he asked us genuinely to do this for him. It's like, yeah, sure, man, no problem. And we did it on the spot. So I think it starts with making the ask.
And for sure, so many people that I asked did. Not everybody did,
Mhm.
but a lot of folks did. Please leave me a review. And I still use that now. I open up a new restaurant in Hawaii. We have no presence in Hawaii. Somebody comes in and they're like, oh my gosh, that sandwich was so good. Or they come back and they're like, oh, I had to come back. It was so great. I say the same thing. Will you please leave me a review? I'm really trying to establish being here in Hawaii. You want me to open up more locations here in Hawaii? I want to love more people here. Please leave me a review. I would love it to be 5 stars as well. And they're like, yeah, totally. And if they do, great. And then I read them, and if they show up again, I recognize them and thank them for leaving the review. But you always got to ask. If you don't ask, they might not, even if they had a great time, similar to what happened with you.
100%. And in your case, do you think that putting your name behind the brand helped you with marketing massively?
I didn't want to name it after myself.
Why?
I wanted it to be a cool name. Not that my name's not cool, but I was like, I want it to be called some clever take. And then, because there's going to be a cafe and ice cream and coffee and all that. And I specifically said, I did a poll on MySpace. That's how long ago this was. I did a poll on MySpace, and I was like, hey, I had kind of a lot of followers on MySpace back in the day. So I was just like, hey, let me pitch it to my fans, my friends, my family.
This is like 2005-ish?
2000, yeah, 5, 6, 7. 2006, I think, is when I did the poll.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, I'm looking for a name. I'm opening a cafe. We're going to have espresso. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, breakfast, all these things. I would like it to not have my name on it. And almost every single response was, Ike's this, Ike's Cafe, Ike's whatever. And I was like, okay, guys, I heard you guys saying this. There's only 1 or 2 non-Ike suggestions, and I didn't like them. So I posted again. I said, hey, I hear it. I thank you guys. I appreciate you. To be like, oh, you're so cool. Just name it after yourself. I was like, I would really like to not name it after myself. I like it to be some unique, cool name that was catchy.
So your friends pushed it initially.
And then the second poll, it was almost 100%. Like, only one person made a suggestion that wasn't my name or had Ike in it. Like, Ike's, we did ice cream, so somebody's like, how about Ike's Cream Shop? And which I guess would have been, a very frisky name, but a great name for an ice cream shop. And after the second poll, I was like, all right, fine. We'll call it Ike's something. So the initial name And I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, but I also think it's the greatest name I've ever come up with in my life. And I've come up with a lot of great names for my sandwiches. So it's called Ike's, and then the tagline was "Good looking sandwiches, great tasting people." And I give that to the menu designer, this and the sign designer, and
Love it.
he's a famous sign designer in San Francisco. He created some iconic signage for other really iconic places like on Haight Street and all these things. And he looks at me, he looks at the name, he's like, I will absolutely not make that sign. Not because I don't like the name, but that's not going to be artistically aesthetic, and it's people are going to. He said that he would be embarrassed to make a sign that looked that um, unbalanced. Ike's, and then two whole sentences after it. So he goes, "How about this? I have a few ideas. I'm gonna go and render something, and I'll come back." And he came back with the rendering, and I was like, "Wow!" The whole like building painted, and I was like, "That looks great." So actually, the sign guy is the one who named the business and the logo in the beginning.
And it was Ike's.
It was called Ike's Place, and it
Ike's
had a
Place.
big, like, juicy cartoon sandwich in the middle.
Got
And
it.
they made it was wooden carved out, but the letters were steel with bolts in them. So it was very like comic book. The font was Shazam, so it was very comic-y, masculine, and then it was on a blue, like deep blue, like royal blue
Mhm.
background. And I mean, we can Google it. It looks like it's still up there, but that was just like boom. And in fact, the signage was so great looking that even though I had one location, people would come in and be like, "Oh, I think you guys have a few of these, right?" I'm like, "No, this is the only one." We look like we were like a legit proper business. In fact, out of the money to open up the store, the that part that ate up the most cost was signage and menu, which was both made by the same guy. That was one fifth of the budget spent on that, and it was money well spent. It was
It's marketing. It's what brings people in. It's what attracts. It's what people feel when they see that on the outside of the building. It can attract or detract someone.
and I still have a few businesses running under the old Ike's Place name. The places that had the old name, when I switched the name, I didn't change them over. I was like, I will leave them there as like, oh, these were the first 10 or 12 locations. But I didn't change the name until 2012. So I opened 2007 and didn't change the name until 2012.
And then, got it. So in 2012, that's when you added the love.
Yeah. That's when I added my face and added the love. Yeah.
What was the hardest thing, like up until the Yelp? Because it sounds like 8-9 months in, that's when things started to get easier. What was the hardest thing about the first 9 months?
Well,
Because I can tell you're a people person. You're extroverted. Like it seems to me that you found excitement in bringing new people in. Was that the most difficult part, or was something else more difficult?
well, in the beginning, it took a while. So up until March, we had almost no customers, like making a couple $100 a day.
Mhm.
And for me, my thought was, oh, I'm not doing enough. Maybe I don't have enough sandwiches. I'm not giving good enough service. And so I would sit with my binder of ideas in the cafe in between customers, thinking of new ideas, thinking that, oh, I just haven't done enough yet.
Mhm.
And in fact, to this day, I wrote down so many ideas for sandwiches, so many ideas for marketing. Like, I'm talking about pages of ideas that I haven't. 18 years later, I still haven't done every single idea that I wrote down. Still haven't made every sandwich that I wrote down. Some of them I have. In fact, some of them I wrote down, and then like one of them, Jose Canseco, baseball player, one of them I wrote down a sandwich, and I end up meeting him. I'm like, oh, hey, I had this idea to do a sandwich with you, and then we ended up doing with them. So a bunch of those that I wrote down. Robin Williams, he ended up coming into Ike's,
Wow.
and like I had these ideas And I was like, I'm just going to keep doing these things. But the focus predominantly was on how do, once we got you, get you to want to stay, get you to want to bring people in. And so some of the other ideas were, well, okay, I'd rather feed people for free than feed nobody for free. It's the same idea. And so people would come in, and I knew that having a restaurant that was full looks good. So instead of coming in and taking it to go, I'd say, hey, if you eat your meal here, I'll give you a free dessert at the end. And most people are like, oh, I'll take a free scoop of ice cream. We had a very specialty ice cream place that's famous to San Francisco that I grew up actually eating. And so people were like, oh yeah, I'll eat it here instead of taking it away, which most people probably would have. And so I started getting the business full. And the difficulty was in, say, pre-Yelp, was in how to get people to talk about the business. So I started passing out other coupons, like, hey, here's a coupon, it's buy one, get one free, but you have to bring a friend. And it said on there, buy one sandwich, bring a friend, get a second sandwich free. And then it said, yes, and your friend needs to be a human, or something like that on there. No pets, no imaginary friends, no,
Some
needs to be,
comedy in there
yeah.
as well.
And so I'd pass those out. So you would come in and then you'd bring a friend because you wanted to get a free sandwich. And so then now 2 people at a time were coming in. And then I got to now market to both of you and give you both a thing. Even, and all it did was cost me a sandwich. So it was just ideas like that over and over. And I have pages of ideas, pages of marketing things, pages of sandwich ideas that ended up trying and trying and trying and trying until we didn't have to try anymore.
Absolutely. And it's so hard to knock something out of the ballpark the first time, which you have, with no background in the restaurant and hospitality business. I come from the world of startups, and I'm not sure of the exact stat now, but like 90% don't survive. 95% of the startups don't survive for a million reasons. And you name some stats around 80 or 80% of restaurants close after 5 years. And it's very, very impressive that with no background whatsoever, you knocked it out of the ballpark on your first go. What gave you these ideas? Because all of these are great, great examples. Like just some of the tactics that you explained around coupons or marketing with the logo. All these are great, great marketing tactics. Where did you learn these? Or was it just you literally sitting down and doing some deep work around brainstorming this stuff?
Well, my observation in life is that when we choose something that we are already doing, like look at your life right now. It demonstrates what's important to you and what's high on your values right now. I don't have to tell you to do those things. People don't have to remind you to do them. So if you're already going to do these things, whether it's hanging out with your family, eating, fighting, whatever it's going to be, because you don't need to be reminded of it, because you actually want to do it. So it was very important that I wrote down a list of things that I would not quit and not expect to get paid for and still do. And feeding people and cooking and eating and all that hospitality stuff was on that list. And so the further observation is then, because you're going to do it anyway, you're going to be really creative in that area. You're going to be a genius in that area. And because you're never going to quit, you're going to continuously to think of new ideas, and you're going to continuously be creative. And it's going to appear on the outside, like now, 18 years in, people are like, oh, wow, you're a genius at it. What happened? It's like, no, I was never going to quit. Like I would only have closed down, well, which I did when the government shut me down. But I would have would have literally had to go out of business. I wouldn't have quit. It would have been, sorry, the business is dead. Because of that, what I did looks like it was smart or creative or unique, but it was the fact that I wasn't ever going to quit that I would sit down and then the ideas would just flow to us from the universe, from wherever these things come from. I have come up with some pretty darn clever ideas in my life. On often I'm like, dude, where did that come from? That was like, it just like somebody whispered in my ear this idea. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea. I write it down. And that's the secret. The secret was, if Ike's didn't work out, I'd still be cooking right now for all these guys here. I would still do that. And I would do that for free, and I would probably be paying to do it too. And that's why it seemed like the things that I did ended up working. It wasn't. I still have ideas I haven't even tried yet. So the thing is I would have been like, if this idea didn't work, I'd go to the next idea. And why did I stop at the ideas, and why do I still have way more? It's because the ideas that I used worked. So then I didn't need to go to the next idea, the next idea, the next idea. But if they didn't, I would have. I mean, I don't think I would have exhausted ideas. I still have a couple pages of binder paper of ideas. I'm assuming one of those 150 ideas would have worked had I needed to get down to them. And
Just
so
being relentless and keep taking shots.
yeah, and we do that in so many things in our lives right now. That just look at your life right now. What do you do, and that you're always going to do, and you're not going to stop? Those are the things. That's your magic list. Well, if you're having a bad day, do something on this list of the things that you're already going to do. You're stressed out, do something on this list. You're in a rut, do something on this list. You're upset, do something on this list. It's not only your superpower list, but it's the list that is going to create from within you all the experiences, all the feelings, all the emotions that you want to be having. When I'm sad, I cook. I'll cook and then be like, hey guys, I made 2 trays of lasagna or 2 trays of enchiladas. Anybody want to come over and get them? Because I'm not going to eat them. It's legit I'm upset or sad over a girl thing to do. Or work out. That's another thing. Oh, I'm pissed off. I'm going to go work out.
Do you ever not want to cook or not want to work out?
Good question.
Because let's say, especially with training, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's kickboxing or some sort of fighting. And you just go every day to that gym and you get beat down. There's going to be days when you don't want to go to the gym, but you still have to go anyway. Do you ever have those kind of days with cooking?
So, well, I'll start with the gym part. I actually hate starting the workout, going to do it. But once I do it, I love it. Every morning, I want to start my day with doing 100, 150 push-ups, and I hate it every time.
Mhm.
Done 150 push-ups, I don't know, 100 times this year so far. But every time I wake up, even now, I'm coming out here and I'm gonna work out. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do it. But the thing is, once I start doing it, and then once I finish it, it's like, yeah. So there are a lot of things that are like that for us. For me, cooking, the only time I don't like cooking, because I take my time and I draw it out, is if I'm starving or I'm already hangry, and I'm like, I can't go cook because I'm gonna cook and it's gonna take me like an hour, and I'm already angry now. So I wouldn't say I don't like to cook. I just want to eat more than I want to cook. Then same thing with the working out. Like I love, don't tell it the people that we know, but I love getting punched in the face. Like when I get punched in the face when I'm sparring, I'm like, all right, let's go. I've probably been punched in the face more times than most non-fighter, like actual professional fighters. I've probably been punched in the face more times than I know of anybody else.
This is metaphorically in business or like literally?
Both. And now, who likes getting punched in the face? But it isn't about the act of getting punched in the face. It isn't the act of going in to train or doing the push-ups. It's what the feeling that happens when that happens. That is the enjoyable part.
Were you always like this, or is this something that you learned to develop?
Which part?
The getting punched into the face and falling down and getting back up part.
Well, so what I noticed for myself is that in the moving through life towards what it is that I want, there's never been a perfect flow to it. It's not like, hey, I want to open up a restaurant. I'm going to go and then I'm going to become a billionaire. It was, oh my God, my first restaurant shut down by the city of San Francisco. Supreme Court of California was like, cannot sell sandwiches anymore. In fact, my first business, we're doing 3 million in sales, closed overnight. Judge's ruling. Not because it wasn't a good business, not because of anything, because the judge said you can't sell sandwiches anymore. You're in a space and you're not allowed to sell sandwiches in there. And if you do it for one more day, you're going to get arrested. So that's an example of, hey, I actually did a good job and it still didn't work out. So then, because I asked you to remind me about a cigar story. So then to do the next locate, well, now there I am with 0 restaurants. So what do we do now? So same thing. I was like, well, what would I do now? I was 3 years in. What would I do? And I looked at my list and I was like, yeah, this list basically, maybe 1 or 2 things might have switched on the list. But this list is basically the same thing. If anything, now feeding people is number 1 on my list.
And to give the viewers some perspective, 3 years in, like to give them an idea of how much you lost, where were you at 3 years in?
So 3 years in, we're doing $3 million. We were doing $3 million and we ended up closing in September. So it was like 9 months and we did $3 million. And this was after, the first year we didn't make any money because this just what businesses don't make money.
Yep.
But then we started becoming busy. And then so we got shut down. And luckily the business was blessed that we had fans, we had notoriety, and we had huge amounts of income. $3 million for a restaurant is nothing, like that's nothing to sneeze at. But now I had no restaurants. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with the money that I have? And I noticed the list, like, yeah, feeding people is number 1 on my list now. Eating was like number 3 on my list now. Being creative in the kitchen, number 2 on my list now. So I was like, well, if anything, I love doing restaurants more now. So what did I do after failing, failing in quotes, because it didn't work out, kind of. It did, but it didn't. I still don't have a restaurant. I was like, oh, I'm just going to open up another restaurant. And then I did. And then I opened up another one, and then opened up another one. And then we ended up getting shut down by San Francisco again. In fact, the city shut me down 3 different times between 2010 and 2016.
How
3
come?
times. The other 2 times were because for revenge. Me versus the city. Like I called out a lot of the politicians, specifically the mayor at the time, who's now the governor of California. I called out the board of supervisors. I called out the planning departments. I called all these fools out. I probably shouldn't say too many bad things about them because I still do business in the city, and they definitely held, like they would say, they would not give me permission for things because they would say, hey, well, Ike's going to do this. Like, that's not how it works. And so for sure, the last 2 closures were revenge, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they call it when political people are like, we're just not going to give you a permit because you're an asshole in 2010. But yeah.
Out of spite.
And then, but every time I closed, because it was a thing on my list, I wouldn't quit. Somebody would go, oh my God, you keep getting shut down and you're still going to open up another restaurant? It's because it's what I wanted to do. I just was like, well, I just won't open up restaurants in San Francisco. Although now I have 3 restaurants in San Francisco. In fact, I opened up my 100th restaurant 3 years ago, and I chose San Francisco as the site for my 100th restaurant to show the city, hey, you had me at 0, but it's my city.
How did it
It's
feel
my town.
opening up the 100th restaurant after they shut you down so many times?
I absolutely did that on purpose. But San Francisco is also my hometown. And there is a really big thing about how they say you can't be a prophet in your own town. Because I started, not just me, but the business started, there were a lot of people that felt like they knew us more than they did. A lot of people that were like, "Oh, I was there," kind of maybe like how a band would be, like when nobody listens to the band, but then they blow up. Like, "Oh, I've been listening to you since you were here, and now you're a big band, so screw you." We had a lot of that. Like, "Oh, Ike, I would go there when you had one location. Now you have 100, whatever. You think you're better than me?" I'm like, "I don't think I'm better than you. I just like I'm gonna stay at one location just because you want me to stay at one location." So in a weird way, I had been experiencing that for a long time, and I decided that it's going to go in San Francisco because that's where I started. That's where I was born. And as a way to tell the folks that they're not even haters, they have a misperception of reality. They think you can't have 100 locations and be as cool as you were when you had one. And I want to show people that not only that is that not true, that's not my reality. So I opened there, had a celebrated. And for one of the rare times, I took a moment to myself right before we opened. Had everybody stand outside the restaurant. I stood inside and I played a song for myself that has meaning to me and my journey. And I listened to it. And then I opened the doors and like, let's go, 100 locations. I took a brief moment to celebrate all the defeats in my life, but especially the defeats with the restaurant, especially when I thought I wasn't going to make it, and take that time. And then I put that out into the day and into the folks, like the celebration. And having that 100th store there in San Francisco, it was part FU, part look at me now, and part I told you I could do it, and part thank you so much for being there from the beginning.
And so, how many years did it take to get to the 100th restaurant after so many shutdowns?
15 years.
And if it's not
100
a secret, which song was
What
it that
song?
you played?
Oh, so there's a song that I used to listen to back when we had one location. In fact, back then, this is how long ago. So it was 2007. We had a 6 CD changer as the sound, the music for the store, and so we just had 6 CDs in there, and they rotate.
Mhm.
And one of the gal that I was dating back then, I dated her, and we like broke up like 3 days later after I opened because she just I was a jerk, and she couldn't handle that I was trying to start a business, so it was just not compatible at the time. And she was looking to like get married and have kids right now. I was like, I literally just opened up a business, so
And
it
you were
didn't work.
focused on the mission.
Well, I just like literally opened my dream business, and she was, when are we gonna get married and have kids and stuff like that? And I was a jerk for sure. I'm not saying like if you listen, actually, she does not like me at all. But if she's listening by chance, not your fault, my fault. And so the song was she really liked this band called Blue October. Are you familiar with them?
No.
Blue October. So there's a Blue October song. We had the Blue October. I think it was called Foiled is the name of the album. And so that was one of the CDs, and I had some random CDs anyway. So that would come on. And there's a song called "She's My Ride Home," which I don't know why that song is called that. I'm not really into the lore of the song. Plus, he's the driver anyway. But anyways, there's a part in the song where it says the chorus part. He says, "I'll be reaching out to the stars with you. Oh, honey, who cares if no one else believes? I'll set fire to everyone around. I told you we'd do it." And then he starts laughing. And for me, it was, I got shut down. I'm even getting chills about singing it right now, or hearing it in my head right now. Got shut down, and the media was really on me, and the politicians were really on me. And I was just like, I'm just selling sandwiches. Like, imagine being dragged in the media, calling all these terrible names by some folks for selling a sandwich, and selling a sandwich damn well. And so I remember as we were approaching the 100 locations, and I started like really reflecting on my journey in the business and in life. And the song I was listening, the song comes up on the radio, like it's like 10 or no, it's like 15 or 14 years later, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did tell him I was gonna do it. So I was like, I want that song to play for myself. Like everybody that's ever said no, the politicians that literally said no, the judge that said no, and I will arrest you if you do it again. For all those folks, I told you I'd do it. So ha, 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 we won. Oh, and then he says we won at the end. And so that's why that song got picked as the song. And I don't think anybody, well, the staff knows because I told them put that song first in the queue on the playlist that day. And I was in there and I listened to it, but I don't think the people outside knew. And I was just like, that's right. I told you we'd do it. Ha 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 ha. We won. And opened the doors. Come on in.
I love it. And when it came to scaling, because it takes a different set of skill sets to open up one restaurant than it takes to open up 100. What did that learning curve look like? What kind of other skills did you have to develop or focus on as you proceeded with that journey? Because it sounds like it was something that you've never done before that. And I imagine it required a lot of managerial skills. What was the learning curve for you?
Oh man. It is fake news and it is a myth. The hardest part of the whole entrepreneurial journey is quitting your comfort, quitting your jobs. The hardest part was me quitting my 3 jobs and then opening up the first and deciding to open up the location. That's the hardest. The next hardest is getting the first location open. By then, I went from having 3 jobs and more of a comfortable life, more predictable life, to now I've opened up a restaurant. My thinking, because I had 3 locations in 3 years, even though I went backwards because I closed a few locations because of the city, is that I thought to myself, okay, I want to open up a second location. And I heard all the chatter. Oh, you can't open. Quality is going to control. Like, oh, you need the processes and you need all these things. And I was like, but I just opened one and I knew nothing about the restaurant business. So obviously now I know about the restaurant business. The second location I'm going to open is definitely going to go way better than the first. And now I know to make sure I'm not in a place where they're going to shut me down and all these other things. And so I opened the second one and it was easier than opening the first. And then a year later, I opened the third one and it was easier than opening up the second one, which was easier than opening the first. So I was going compounding how easy it was getting. Then on January 1st, 2012, I had 4 locations. On January 1st, 2013, I had 12 locations. And when people are like, oh, you need processes or you need this kind of bandwidth, it wasn't until I got to 12 locations that I was like, oh, the processes that I have for one no longer work. And at that time that I had 12, I also knew where it didn't work. And I'm like, oh, I need to work on this, this, and this. And all it took was 6 months of adjusting. But I had 12 locations in a 5/6 year period. And people are like, wow, how are you doing this? And I go, what are you talking about? It's easier having 12 restaurants than it is to have one. And it's easier having 100 restaurants than it is to have 12.
How so? Like the system runs itself once you set it up once, or what makes it easier?
So, great question. The parts that make it easier are a few, but the biggest part is revenue is much higher, so I can afford better help at the top. The other part is because revenue is higher, you can afford to pay people more. So you can retain middle help and lower help that deserve it. You can maintain that. Plus, because revenue is higher, you can add in positions that you did not previously have. Now you can have a CFO, you can have a chief marketing team, you can have a marketing team, because we had the revenue of 12 locations versus the revenue of 1. So that's the chief part of it. The other part why it gets easier is because now instead of being, say, a sandwich maker like I was, now I have to move up in my bandwidth of awareness. And then because of that, I became a better leader. Because of that, my skills upgraded. Because of that, I was able to, hey, say you were there, my buddy would come and help me before. I helped raise him to open up 3 locations, 5. My brother opened up 5 locations. So also everybody gets raised up. There's 12 locations. We need 12 managers now. So 12 people are going to get this high level of business training, but not just the training, but being able to give love and sandwiches to folks. So that's how come it got easier. Now having 100 easier than having 12, for all the same reasons. I have a much better leader. I have a much that's not me even. I've got three marketing teams. I have 180 people in management or something, 150 people in management, some crazy number where we're able to do all these things because of the revenue. And I reckon when I get to 1,000 locations, it's gonna be like, wow, it's easier to have 1,000 than it is to have 100. And probably it's easier to have 10,000 than it is to have 1,000.
Was there a priority, like throughout this scaling journey, was there a priority on specific roles or specific parts of the kitchen? Like, did you find yourself prioritizing the CFO over the CMO earlier? And what would you change now in retrospect?
Well, so our priorities have not changed since 2000 when we readjusted the in 2012 or 2013 we had way too many. We didn't. When I was like, oh my gosh, we need to change some things. We changed some things and we set that in. And for the most part, the things that are the most important are there. It's love and sandwiches. It's in the name. Anything that doesn't hit love or sandwiches, and preferably it hits both, is not important. It's secondary, third, tertiary, or even lower. So that's what the priority is. So when you go CEO, CMO, CFO, whatever, managers, what is it? Is how can we hit whatever the duty is? Show me, and we make them. I used to make them write out like, how is this love, and not just, oh, we can tell it's love. Like even if it's easy to tell if it's love, I need you to write it down so everybody can see. So someone goes, hey, CEO, why are you doing this? You'd be like, oh, it's love, and it's love because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So no, everybody knows. There's nobody guessing that it's love. And then same with sandwiches. Is it sandwiches? How if it's a sandwich? Sure, it's a sandwich. But how else is it? Oh, it's because we're getting this piece of equipment that's gonna make the sauces being easier to spread. So that's love because we're gonna put the sauce on more evenly on every sandwich, so everybody's gonna get the thing. But it's also sandwiches because we're gonna make the sandwiches more perfect, more easy to make. And it's loving also for the staff. Now it's easier for the staff. And so basically, you show how it's love and you can show how it's sandwiches. And then underneath that, we have respect, we have appreciation, we have other things like respect everybody, respect the hustle, respect where people came from, respect all the things that has happened in life for it to be here right now, and then appreciate being grateful. Here we are. Take a moment to be in gratitude right now. Appreciate the people. If that person wasn't here standing in front of you right now, even if they're hangry, we wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have a job. Appreciate the staff. If I didn't have staff, then I'd be having to work. If I didn't have fans, then I'd be selling sandwiches to nobody like I did on my first day. So those are the basic priorities. And in that, well, when we do marketing, how's the marketing hitting 11 sandwiches? When we do a post, yeah, sometimes we do some of the viral stuff because whatever, you got to do that in 2025. But for the most part is show me how this post is about love or if it's about sandwiches, and preferably both. And we still tell me how it is. I want to see how it is because I also want to see how you think too. So that's basically that. CFO, CMO, CEO, whatever, doesn't matter the position.
So it sounds like at about 12 restaurants, there was like a reshuffling of values, mission statement, culture, that type of thing.
And in fact, when we changed the name to 11 Sandwiches and we put out our mission statement, which wasn't called the mission statement, I actually believe in Silicon Valley, in California, that I don't think we invented it, but we put it on the wall we put it on the wall, we put it on our bags, and we put it on things so much so that people were ridiculing us for it. This is why I think that we originated the not having the statement, but making the statement public to folks. Because people come in like love and sandwiches, respect, how dumb. Now everybody has a mission statement. Everybody posts it on their website. I don't even think if somebody sees somebody's mission statement, they think anything much of it. But we've been doing that since 2012, having a mission statement. It's on the bags. I have a bag in the room over there that has it on there. And so when we did that, it was us making a stand for this, but we also made it public. It wasn't just internal. It's on the bags now. It's been on the bags since 2012. So a decade and a half almost that this has been on a bag, telling people this is what we stand for, so they can also call us out when we miss it.
What kind of advice would you give to someone that is starting from zero, like you were 20 years ago?
Make that list of what it is that you are already doing. That list, and be exhausted of this list. If you brush your teeth twice a day, write down you brush your teeth twice a day. You hang out with your cat, your dog, your guinea pig, write that down. The things that you're already doing right now. Write that out. And it's going to be like 30, it's probably like realistically 100 things, but write it out. An exhaustive list. 30 things at least. Write this list. You work out, write it down. You call your friends, write it down. You play video games, write it down. All these things. And look at this list. From this list, this is your gift from the universe. These things uplift you. These things nobody has to remind you to do. This is your secret power. You are a genius here. You're creative. You can be Superman in these areas. So it would behoove you to find a way to generate income strictly from this list. And later on, only do these things from this list. Don't ever do things that are not on this list unless the upside is high for you or the downside is so high that you have to do it for not doing it. Like paying your taxes or something, which is probably not going to end up on this list. So from there, as I did, figure out ways that you can generate even 1 penny. Like right now, if somebody would pay me a penny to brush my teeth, that's 1 more penny than I'll ever make in my life brushing my teeth. In fact, I bet you if Elon did, hey, I'm streaming every morning brushing my teeth, people would probably pay him $1 to watch him brush his teeth. He'd probably be a millionaire just from brushing his teeth every day, probably. So there's ways to be creative. From this list, at least 3 ways that you can generate 1 penny. Once you start writing out these lists, you're going to notice a pattern of what to do, how to do it, and it'll strike you like it struck me. Oh my gosh, I should either be a gigolo or I should open up a restaurant. That's what my list told me. I should
gigolo.
And this is
what is a gigolo?
Gigolo, like a male prostitute.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, gigolo. And in fact, ironically, the day that I opened Ike's, I was living with the sugar mama that I met off of Craigslist. Because I was like, how can I make money going on dates? And I literally did my list. So there's nothing that is beneath what it is that is your highest priorities. Nothing. This list, it's going to become self-evident what you need to do. Again, like I said, it was for me, I either needed to date people for a living or feed people for a living. But the feeding people, I didn't make that much money dating people, so I went to the feeding people, and the rest is how it is. And it's never get tired, because how can I get tired eating and cooking and feeding people and seeing the smiles on people's faces? People going there on their first dates, people getting engaged, people ask us to put like rings in the sandwich, people that work for me, they end up getting married, all these things. So that's your magical powers there. So my advice to somebody starting and they literally have nothing, start with what you're already doing in your life, because you're going to be a genius, you're going to be creative, you're going to be a superhero in this space. But the biggest thing is you're never going to quit. You're never going to quit. You're not going to stop ever hanging out with your dog if that's what you love to do, or stop cooking if that's what you like to do, or stop working out if that's what you like to do, or looking into fashion, whatever those things are that you enjoy doing. You're never going to stop because you're already doing them now. You have evidence that you're doing them. So the main part of this list is it needs to be things you are doing. You can't say you want to travel if you never travel. If you travel all the time, put it on the list. So make sure this list is evident in your life and you have evidence of it becoming true in your life. If you do that and then you find ways to generate income from that, your whole life will change. And then start tomorrow. Like, don't hear this and then you'll do it later. No, make your move before you're ready. I opened up my restaurant. I sold nothing. I was definitely not ready for that, but it didn't matter. Second one, third day, took me 3 days to sell 10 sandwiches. It didn't matter if I was ready, right? Nobody came in anyway. So how much would have being ready have helped me?
This actually reminds me a lot of one story. And before I tell it, your perspective is very interesting because it's more so about like double down, triple down on the things that you already enjoy, as opposed to really focusing and doing the stuff that you hate. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Well, yeah, because you're already going to do it. And it's not things that you enjoy. It's things that you're already doing. Now we're assuming that you enjoy the things that you're already doing.
Absolutely. And I think this was back in 23. I was at an event, a ClickFunnels event in Florida. And for those that don't know, ClickFunnels is like the mecca of software and marketing events. And there was a gentleman there that we ended up having a cigar with through a mutual friend of mine. And he came out to the event and we sat down, and right away he was asking like all the hard questions. How much do you make? What do you do? And he was digging very, very deep. And then he's like, look, listen, you have to first understand yourself if you want to succeed in business. And then he gave a recommendation for a whole series of tests that one would do if they're getting hired for a C-suite executive position, around personality tests, dark triad tests, leadership style tests. And the whole goal was to understand your personality, understand yourself, and understand what you naturally excel at. Because if, let's say, Ike here is naturally good with people, he's an extrovert, versus me, an introvert, chances are if we are going out to a public speaking gig, if our job is to do sales or if our job is to talk to people, I can be better than Ike because I have the skill sets. But over a long enough time horizon, Ike will beat me because I will just get exhausted and you're going to want to do it more. And you're just going to become like, I'm going to become more tired than you are. And eventually you're going to surpass me. Why? Because your natural strengths, your natural inclinations are to be indefatigable in that certain field because of your God-given strengths or God-given talents or your natural interest in certain things. And so I think that kind of connects with what you just explained of triple down to the things that you already enjoy, that you would already be doing regardless of whether you're getting paid or not. And this is why, like, I'm filming these podcasts now. It's why I started the channel Breaking Cigars. I would be doing it whether I was getting paid or not. And I'm not getting paid to do any of this. I genuinely enjoy having these kinds of conversations over cigars because they've been changing my life, and I would do it even if I had to pay.
Exactly. And a lot of the things that we do that we love is we do pay to do them. Hanging out with your cat, you got to feed your cat. You got to feed your dog.
Veterinarian.
Yeah, bills, right? Take them for a walk. You have the time commitment. Change the litter box, whatever you got to do. Change the cage if you have a caged animal. So we're already putting in our precious resources of time and money into these things. which is proof that we love them. We don't go, oh my gosh, my cat, you know, sudden your cat a bill, do you? When you take your dog for a walk, you're like, all right, you owe me $20 now. No, in fact, we really enjoy these things. If you really enjoy these things, wouldn't it just be, and you're already going to do them anyway. Like, I'm not suggesting going out and finding and start doing things. I'm talking about things you're already doing. It would just be unwise for anybody to do something and then not find a way to also then make it cost the least amount without cutting corners or generate income from there. If you're telling me there's a way that you can make money walking your dog and you don't take that, why would you not take that? Are you gonna, hey, go walk your dog and I'll give you $20? Would you say no, I don't want your $20? Of course not. You take the $20. That's tantamount to what I'm saying. I'm gonna cook anyway, so I might as well get paid to cook. I'll cook for free. I'll cook for not free, even free. I cook and I have to go buy the ingredients. So I'll cook for like -$50 or -$100. But it would be better. I would rather cook for $1,000 positive than $100 negative. And that was my whole thinking when I started. You can do that with any of these things on your list. And my list changed too. Your list is going to change. You're going to start doing things and you're like, oh, actually, I didn't realize how much I love feeding people. So I started feeding people every day. And I'm like, wow, this is my number one thing. Today, my number one thing is to speak, teach, travel, eat, feed people, and be creative in the kitchen. Those are my top 6 things. Well, I do all those things almost every single day, but assuredly every single week I do those things. And my life, and on top of that, my life's never felt more fulfilling. It's not just about getting paid to do these things. It's about having enough money so then that you can only do these things in your life and so that you don't have to be unfulfilled. So you win multiple ways. You win because you're fulfilled, and then you also win because you're getting paid. And then you also win because you don't have to worry about money. Yeah, in the beginning, maybe. Like I didn't not worry about money until like 6 years into the business. But along the way of not worrying about money, I was having fun and feeling fulfilled on the way to, and then now I'm just all that. Plus I don't have to worry about money. But I was feeling fulfilled the entire time from day one, selling no sandwiches. I was fulfilled. I was having a good time. Well, not that day because I didn't feed anybody. But the second day, I was definitely happy. I was so happy I fed 9 people. I made like $90-something, but I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. It wasn't the money. It was the making the things, making the food, feeding the people. And then when the first customer ever that came back a second time and then they left, I was like, oh my gosh, I am feeling not just fulfilled, but appreciated too. For like $12. It's not about the money, it's about the task. It's about the thing. Now it's so much success comes from that, but it was the original fulfillment that created the success, not the I was successful and now I'm happy about it.
To serve is to love.
To serve in the way that you want to serve is love. Yeah.
I love
I
that.
want to serve how you different, and you, because you asked for advice earlier. It doesn't matter what people want to buy. What matters more is what you want to sell, and that you sell what you want to sell. So don't let people tell you, find me to fulfill it. My business, and I also grew up in Silicon Valley. That's the biggest BS that there is. Do not find a need and fulfill it. Find a need that you love and fulfill that. If you don't love the need, fuck that need. It's not your need. It's somebody else's need to fill. So it doesn't matter what people want to buy. It only matters that you sell what you want to sell. If you sell what you want to sell, you're going to be the best at that. And then people that want that are going to come find you, because most people don't sell what they want to sell. They sell what makes them money. They sell what's hot right now. They find a need and they fulfill it. And they don't care about that need in particular. So just sell what you want to sell and you'll go far. Maybe not the first day, and maybe not the 10th day, maybe not even the first year, but you will go far. And how you'll know that that's the spot you need to be is you won't ever stop doing it. And you'll be fulfilled whether you're making $1 or $1 million. That's how you know.
And that conviction in the product or the service is going to directly correlate with your ability to sell it.
Absolutely, because you're going to be really creative in that area. As I've been saying, you're going to be a genius in that area. Whether it's selling voodoo, sock puppets, or whatever, if you really love that, then when somebody wants a voodoo sock puppet, they're going to find you on the internet, and you're going to have the coolest voodoo sock puppets. And you're going to have like a whole line. You can be creative with it and all that. And somebody's going to Google voodoo sock puppets, which I don't, maybe I'm sure that something would come up, but it's probably you if that's you, the one that loves to do it. And that's the difference between those that are fulfilled and those that aren't. Is those that are fulfilled forego the fighting the need to fulfill it, and instead found a love and fulfilled that.
You wanted me to remind you of a cigar story
Yes.
that you want to share.
So back, I told you, closed my first location, or got shut down. The Supreme Court of California is like, Ike, if you sell sandwiches past September 10th, you're going to get arrested for being held in contempt of court. And I remember leaving the courtroom, and the media was there because it was a big deal. Hey, Ike, you're going to get shut down. What's going to happen? And what I wanted to say, but my attorney and my mom were there before because they wanted to talk to me first. And I was like, I'll be like, screw that. You better have cameras there. 9 a.m. I'm opening the door, and if the sheriff wants to arrest me, the sheriff's going to arrest me. They said the sheriff's going to come and arrest me if I open. But my team calmed me down, my mom, my attorney, my friends, like, don't say that. It's not worth getting arrested over. Like, what's going to happen? You're going to get arrested, be in jail for like 3 days, and then what, right? The store's still going to be closed. So instead, I apparently gave some answer that went viral back in those days. It's 2010, and then I went home.
What made it viral? The answer.
They weren't expecting my answer. I don't really remember what I said back then because it was somber, it was calm, and it was more like thank you to San Francisco. It was like writing the obituary of the business. I should go look it up what I said. But I remember the next day people were like, oh my God, and the staff was like, you said that. And people were like, oh, that was really great what you said. But I think I told you about at the business and I had to close it back in the day. So back then, we sold, it was in the Mission District of San Francisco. A lot of crack dealers, drug dealers. I think it was mainly crack and coke and dealers out there. Some marijuana dealers, but mainly the crack dealers were buying the marijuana, not so much. And so they would come in and they would buy a lot of Swisher Sweets, and then the Philly, the chocolate one, I forget the official name of that, the Philly. But then what became really big, I think it was because of the rappers, was not the rappers, not rapper, music rappers, was they started smoking these things called Philly Titans. Obviously not the most exotic of cigars. But I noticed that the box, the dealers would ask us to keep the box when we're done. Like, oh, when you're done with the box, can we come pick up the box? They wanted the empty box. And so I was like, well, why would you want the box? And they said, oh, because if you put $100, if you fill it up with $100 bills, it's one box is $100,000 with $100 bills. One Philly Titans box. So remember, I opened up Ike's, and I heard about I remembered about the Philly Titans box being $100. Fill it up with $100 bills, it'll be $100,000. So I don't even remember where I got a Philly Titans box. I don't remember how I got one, but I got one because I wasn't selling cigars at Ike's. And the goal was, I've never had $100,000 in my life. So I get the box, start filling it up with $100 bills, and I would count the money. I really enjoyed counting the money because I was sucked at money. my whole life. And I had this business. It was blowing up. And I remember every night, so it was under my bed. I don't have a box anyway. So if I say I used to do it, put it under my bed. I don't have a box of, I don't have a Philly Titans box under my bed of money. So don't go and try to find it. This was back then. If you wanted it, you should have been there like 15 years ago. And so I remember going to bed every night. And I count, because I'd add a couple $1,000s every day to it. 1,000 sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 1. And I'd count and I'd wrap it and do, oh, let me count it. And I remember as I was counting and as it was growing, I started becoming more, like I started thinking, oh, I'm a good businessman. I'm good with money. Like my whole mental outlook changed because I saw the physical results of my internal doing what I loved. So time passes. Judge says, now flash forward 3 years. Judge says, if you I give the speech to the media, they write it, it goes viral. I'm sitting at home. I don't know what to do. I'm like attempting to think of a creative way to change this. Where can I reopen? How can I do? And I go and find out, oh, to open up the next location is going to cost $100,000. I'm like, okay, let me go and check under my bed. So I pull out the bed, and I don't know how I didn't notice it before, but the Philly Titans box was 100% full. And I was like, oh, they said it's supposed to be $100,000. So I count it, and it was exactly $1,100 bills in the Philly Titans box. So I had $100,000. And so first I was like, wow, those sons of bitches were right. It is $100,000. But then I remembered that first business that failed. It was like a whole full circle thing. I remember the first business that failed. And here I am with my second business, also failed. As in, it wasn't open anymore. But I had this $100,000 in a Phillies Titans box, a cigar box. I don't even remember how I got the box. And I remember saying to myself, oh, well, look, the start of Ike's. And then I opened up the second location after the first one closed, opened that one up. And now we're at 135 more after that. That's my cigar story.
So that Philly Titans box sponsored that second location.
Basically. Yeah. I had that saved. It was my dream to always have a full Phillies Titans box. That was a dream I had years before, 2001, 2002, and finally got it. And that having that dream, like saving that money, I don't know where that money would have went if I wasn't putting it aside. And then I was able to open up my second location. So even though, yeah, I like basically lost $100,000 based on a judge, or even worse, lost a $3 million business based on a judge, based on a grudge, probably even, is that I was able to then just transform my love, my dream into, oh, here's the next thing. Here's the next business. And when you asked me originally off, you're like, oh, what's your favorite kind of cigar? I wanted to say Phillies Titan, but not because of what reason you think it is, and then tell you that story, but I want to tell you the story.
Love it.
Here. So Phillies Titan, officially my favorite cigar.
I'll have to look into that brand. I wonder if they're still around.
Yeah, I think they are.
Are you open for a quick round of questions?
I'm open as long as you were open.
I'll pull them out here. Question number 1. Which is your favorite sandwich on the menu right now?
Oh, man. So right now as we're talking, it's the holidays. We have the sandwich called the Friendsgiving sandwich. It's basically what you think it would be. We make our own stuffing, all these things. That's the sandwich I eat during this time of the year. We only bring it out for the holidays. But my actual favorite sandwich is our Reuben. It's called the Ike's Reuben. Named it after myself. That's what I love. It's not an East Coast style Reuben. It's a West Coast style Reuben.
Your face on the chest, weird or genius?
It's the greatest thing I've ever thought of in my whole life from a business standpoint. And I didn't know that when I did it. It turned out people see it, they notice it, it becomes a branding. It has helped me get recognized, whether it's by a fan or by a celebrity. It's like, wait, you're the Ike's guy. I cannot tell you how often an A-list celebrity be like, wait, I know who you are. You're the Ike's guy. So it's freaking genius. So much genius that we do hats, panties. Like my billionaire mentors are like, man, I wish I was smart enough to put my face on a shirt. Like, genius.
Love it. Franchise offer highest rejected.
The highest rejected offer for valuation has been $100 million.
I generate a lot of these questions using Claude, and I'm curious if it's correct, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong with any of these. The dirty sauce, what are the 2 real ingredients?
Well, there's 19 different herbs and spices and a whole bunch of garlic. So
Was the international sex symbol your idea?
Dr. John D. Martini, if you don't know who he is, one of my favorite mentors, he started that whole trend, and then I just based on the stories, and I just ran with it. And I'll tell you this: back when we talked about MySpace, I had put that poll for the name. Also at the time, because websites weren't really that popular or a thing that everybody had, 2007, I just turned my MySpace page into an Ike's website. And I transformed the quote that you have underneath your profile pic. It said transcending the sandwich genre since 2007. And then, as you recall, I went and stunningly sold 0 sandwiches in the first day, and then took me 3 days to sell 10. But eventually I ended up transcending the sandwich genre. And I thought it must have happened because I wrote it down. I believed it to be true. So I started using the hashtag international sex symbol on my Instagram page and on my other social media pages. And then there was an article, flash forward like 2 years later, in the San Francisco newspaper, where the journalist that was writing the article, he's writing an article about a different business where a woman was having trouble getting a permit, which is much what happened to me. And the article's not about me. It's about this other woman who can't get a permit. And it basically said, this reminds us of when local icon and sex symbol Ike Shehadeh couldn't get his permit with Ike's. And the thing is this is one of those where you write it and it becomes true. Because he could have just stopped at, this reminds us of when it happened to Ike. But he put in the sex symbol part. And he put that in because I started standing for that. So that's where it came from. But not only that's where it came from, it became true because I put it down.
Writing it out is to put it out into the existence, put it out into the universe.
Yes. One of my creative success hack, I guess, is, like, I wrote transcending the sandwich genre, and people are like, you're not transcending shit. Like, is that in physics, especially in quantum, every action, there's the equal and opposite reaction. Nothing's ever lost, nothing's ever gained. So I put out international, and the first time I put that on my page, international sex symbol, oh my God, you should have seen the hating comments that I'd get, mostly from dudes. Or DMs like, up yours, you're ugly, whatever, you're bald and short, whatever they would say. But the thing is all their negativity actually creates, like in politics or polarity or anything, they actually created me being international sex symbol. So all the haters out there, If you want to actually not have me be successful, stop being a hater. You're actually helping me be more successful. So I learned that specifically from writing out International Sex Symbol. All those haters, and the newspaper still calls me a sex symbol.
You're absorbing all that energy
Yeah,
and the ketoing
it gets yes.
Love it. How many of the face shirts do you own?
Oh man, over 100.
Are there 100 different variations of
Oh,
them?
there's probably close to, so every store gets their own when we open them up. So there's at least 135 plus. We probably have 250 different styles plus
Wow.
like colors and everything. Yeah, we change the colors. We do Christmas ones. We do Halloween ones. We do
Panties ones, bra
yeah.
ones. Wow. Truly a sex symbol.
So a couple hundred. How many do I have? Over 100. I probably have 200 ish. I don't have every single one in existence. I've certainly had people that I've dated that came over and like stole them, wore them, and then I just never saw them again. Or some of them are really old, like they're up to 18 years old, so they got eaten by the machine or they're worn out. But yeah, there's probably lifetime 250, and I have about 180 to 200 of them. Yeah.
What was the worst Yelp review that was true?
The worst that was true. All right, it's one of my favorite Yelp reviews too. And I remember this happening too. This back when I had my second location, this gal comes in, and we're giving away free T-shirts for people that would leave us a Yelp review. So the girl comes in. I don't want to say anything bad about her, so I'm not going to. Even though the only person that'll know it was her and the person that wrote the review. So they come in and like, oh hey, yeah, we're giving away free T-shirts, and if you leave us reviews, so we leave us a review, I give her a T-shirt, do all these things, and then she leaves. Next day, I see a review. Or next day, the person that left the review must have come in because said, hey, I went to Ike's. Apparently, he was all over my girlfriend, gave her a free T-shirt. So, guys, if Ike is around, you better watch out for your girlfriend. I don't know how I feel about it, but yeah, I talked to him, and he seems like he's a pretty smooth and cunning, smooth, cunning guy. So watch out for your girlfriend. However, it was the best sandwich I ever had, 5 stars.
Love it.
So yeah, if your girlfriend's around, sorry. When I was working at Victoria's Secret, the girls did call me. My nickname was the girlfriend stealer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it. Love or sandwiches? If you were to choose one.
Well, I was going to choose love. Because if it wasn't for the love of the sandwiches, I probably wouldn't be doing sandwiches because that's not a good way to make money.
Chicken or the egg? And this is going to be the last question. If you were to leave the world tomorrow, what would be the last message that you would want to put out there?
The last message I want to put out, if I was going to expire right after I say it, is your well-being is your greatest contribution to humanity. And there's never any exceptions to that.
Your well-being.
Your well-being is your greatest contribution to humanity. No exceptions ever.
Elaborate a little bit on that. I'm curious.
A lot of humans go out and we do things for other people. We martyr ourselves. And in fact, we don't even martyr ourselves. You get celebrated if you martyr yourself. Look at you. Tax all billionaires. Oh, I can't believe you did that. We should help people beneath us. All these things. And then I'm reminded, I fly over 100 times a year, probably close to 150 times a year. And the flight attendant, like to fly over here, they're like, hey, in the unlikely event that the cabin pressure changes, the mask will come down. Do they say, make sure you run around and put everybody's mask on first? And if you don't die, then put your mask on? No. They say, put your mask on first. They say, even if your kid is next to you and it's your most precious thing that you have on this planet, still put yours on first and then put theirs on. But what happens is we live in a world where if you do that in any other area other than putting on your mask, you're an asshole, you're a jerk, you're selfish, you're bad, you're an evil person. But no, that's not true. The reason why humanity is the way that it is, and the negative aspects of it, is because people are doing that and thinking that they're doing a good thing. But the thing is we do things for other people when we don't want to. When you don't want to, you grow resentful for them. It doesn't make you happy to give away your things when you don't want to. It doesn't make you happy to do things for other people when you don't want to. And that's why the world in the negative aspects is the way that it is. But now imagine it different. Imagine you were out there and you were living your life for yourself, by yourself, being fulfilled. Say like me, and feeding people, making sandwiches, giving them love. Then you would be fulfilled. You would be happy. You would have your tank full 100% of the time. And then imagine then you came across somebody else that was also doing that and their tank was full 100% of the time. And then you both went out and we went into that house and you ran into people that their tank was 100% full 100% of the time. Do you think that's a better life to live in, or the way that is happening for the most part right now? And that's why your well-being is your greatest contribution you have to humanity. Because when you're well, everybody that comes in contact with you becomes better too. When you're well, you're not going to cuss out your kids. You're not going to cuss out your neighbor. You're not going to honk your horn 150 times because the person in front of you is going 3 miles slower than you want them to be going. You're also going to be fulfilled. You're also going to be doing great at whatever your line of work will be. Your relationships with your family will be better. Your relationships with your friends will be better. But we go around going, oh, I need to sacrifice. And I need to sacrifice. And again, the worst part is that we celebrate that instead of the opposite. You're not happy, knock that shit off and go be happy. You're actually taking away from the universe when you're not. So anybody that's not out there being fulfilled and focusing on their own well-being in all aspects, like if you're not making this list of what you love to do and then doing it, you're actually taking away from humanity.
When you neglect yourself, you also neglect others in the process.
You can't help them at all if you're neglected. And say even if you're like, oh, I'm there for other people. Oh, I'm there for other people. Well, you're like half of a man anyway then, because you're not fully full. Your battery's not full.
How can you be there for other people when you're not there even for yourself?
And that's the paradox. The paradox is you fulfill yourself first and you have endless energy to fulfill other people. When I go into work on any given day, I have endless energy to help everybody that comes in, whether they're hangry or they're happy. And they leave and they're like, wow, I had a great experience. We were just hanging out for 48 hours and I'm pretty sure that nobody had an experience of me that I wasn't fulfilled and I didn't have anything for anybody else. I was literally physically drained and mentally drained, but I still was there for everybody because I am a fulfilled person and therefore I'm able to help other people even when I'm drained, even when I'm physically exhausted and mentally exhausted. And I believe I have like 48 people, but proof from like 60 people that that's true, even when at my lowest point. But that's because I've been taking care of myself for so long that my battery is here, even when I'm drained.
There's a lot of wisdom in that, and I couldn't agree more. Ike, this interview was absolutely iconic. I had to say it. I was holding on to it this entire interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Anytime,
you.
man.
I really enjoyed it.
I appreciate you.